Good day, everybody. This is our church. Does this kind of remind you of the mourners who came back in Ezra's time when King Cyrus said to all the people that were there, "Go back to your homelands. I set you free." It was God's work through another person outside of the faith. He was not a Jew. But the mourners came back to the temple and it was gone. Well, our temple is still here. The church is still here. It is still that grand and glorious place that many of us, including me, kind of call home. It brings us to a place where God is. But we also know that God is everywhere. There is no place where we cannot find God. He is everywhere. And that's part of our gospel. It is not a gospel. Paul's writings. By the way, I just need to kind of talk about that a little bit too. Who is Paul? Who is Christ? Paul does a lot of talking. Paul has his opinions on things. Paul is a great apostle of Jesus Christ. He is very much like Peter. And we know, somebody came into my office and said, "Man, to say that Paul was wrong is just going against everything I believe." It's like, well, that's true. I get that. It's part of the Bible. But the Bible is a reflection of who we are sometimes too. Paul has flaws. We all have our flaws. Peter had flaws. Everybody in the Bible has their flaws. King David, the greatest king ever, had his flaws. To me, the gospel of Jesus Christ is what it's about. And God says many things through Jesus Christ, part of that Godhead. So sometimes people get worried when people say that you shouldn't take Paul for word. I don't know. Paul is an amazing person, and I have to tell you, Paul wrote some words in Romans 8 that I want to talk about today. I'm just letting you see the church as it is. So if you're wondering, what am I doing? I'm just walking around in circles. I can't do much more when I'm talking because that's all I can handle, okay? So anyway, Paul says some wonderful words that we will hear on Sunday, I think anyway. And he says, "Nothing can separate us from the love of God." Nothing can separate us from the love of God. I don't know what has happened, but there are some people out there who don't know if there's a heaven. I actually got an email sent to me that talked about that very thing, that says, "Hey, does the Bible say that you're going to see your relatives when you get to heaven? Does the Bible say there even is a heaven? Does the Bible say?" And I'm going, yeah, it does. But somehow there are some people out there that are saying, no matter what, God is in control. To those people, I want to say, yes, God is in control. Absolutely, without a doubt. And He has promised that He will be with me forever. Is there a heaven? I want to answer that in a way that says, yes, and there is only heaven. Heaven is here today. It has been here for a long time. Is it complete? No. No, and I'll be talking more about that on Sunday. But I'm walking down the hall now of our church. And maybe the meditation today is just resting and knowing that your church, even though it doesn't look like the church you used to see, oh my goodness, it's that seed beneath the ground, that itty bitty seed that is going to sprout and bloom. It's going to look a little bit different when we all come back here. By the way, when you come back here, there's going to be light. Now, I hope I can find the light fixture here, because here is the fellowship hall. Whoa! It looks like the church, doesn't it? Where have all the tables gone? I don't know where all the tables gone. Yeah, I do. There's a couple. There's one. They're all here too, and they're going to be ready to be put down. And I'm not saying when we're going to use those tables again. I have not a clue. This COVID thing has everybody baffled. So I'm not saying when anything's going to happen. But here are the pews. They're ready to go back. They're in order, I believe. I see a short pew over there. That must be the pew that's in the center of the church. Let me tell you, this maybe even looks organized to you. Jeff Green, just a shout out to Jeff Green. He had this planned out really, really well. So we're in good shape, guys. And we're in good shape also because we have a God who says, Immanuel. We have a God who is with us. And yes, we do have a place that we're going. Know that. Know that. Paul says it. Jesus said it. And who did he say it to? Some people like to mess around with that and say, Jesus said to those who believe. Dig deeper. Dig deeper. Keep digging. I think you'll find a different answer. God spoke to that to all of creation. There are certain questions that come up in our minds. But God has it covered. Dig into what the promises of God are to you. I've said this over and over and over and over again, but I think that's what it's all about. It's why you hear me talking about Isaiah 43. It's not part of the gospel. It's part of the writers of God, the authors of that book we call the Bible. He is just simply a prophet. Paul is just simply an apostle with a tremendous amount of knowledge. They have heard God. Paul even proclaims it. Isaiah even proclaims it. I have heard God speak. And we know that to be true in Acts, don't we? There's a reason God died on that cross. There's a reason. It's you. It's you. God cares. God is all-powerful. And I don't know why, but God has chosen to absolutely love all of his creation. And that's the promise. That is the promise. May we cling to that promise. May we know what Paul says deep in our hearts to be true. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever separate us from the love of God. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. That's Immanuel. That's the purpose of the cross. The gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news of Jesus Christ is Immanuel. Peace be with you. Amen.